I am really excited to be here today to chat with you all. The topic of women in entrepreneurship is one that is really near and dear to my heart. I joined the Foundry team just back in June, so I'm still a new team member. And as Maria mentioned, I am based in Boston, and part of my mandate is really to be a conduit for entrepreneurs and capital resources like mentors and investors and other programs like grant funding or accelerators, incubators that can help propel the startup growth. And really, we're focused in this context on entrepreneurs who are in the startup space. Entrepreneur can be so many different things, it can manifest in so many facets. And for the topic of this, I'm focusing a little bit more on the venture backed startup entrepreneur. But that said, I know we have a lot of entrepreneurs in this room. So if you are an entrepreneur of a small business or an entrepreneur of kind of internal corporate arm, that too is also so important to supporting this ecosystem. And when I think about the community of women in entrepreneurship, it's all of those individual players. And I think they all play a really critical role in shaping what our future of entrepreneurship is for the female or non-binary founders and funders. I want to start a little bit today with exploring the world of women entrepreneurship with some statistics and looking at how we can really collectively empower and support women in their entrepreneurial journey, and then specifically dive into how we as Purdue Innovates and the Startup Foundry can also provide a little bit of support. Because at the end of the day, whether you are a startup founder, an investor, a small business owner, or even just an innovation enthusiast, we are all part of a really strong and connected Purdue community that should be leveraged and continue to build this ecosystem of support and be a powerful tool for advancing entrepreneurs to their highest potential. So I want to start by taking a brief look at some of the stats from women in entrepreneurship. PitchBook reported that companies founded solely by women garnered just 2.1% of total capital invested in venture-backed startups in the US in 2022. And this number only slightly increases when we look at the female to male co-founders, who garnered about 15.4% of capital, which is still the highest since 2017's recording. And upon initial glance, this looks a little bleak for women in entrepreneurship. But there's good news here. The good news is that US funding from VCs for female founded or co-founded companies has overall been trending up in recent years. And there's pretty good reason for this. There's been a huge surge in resources available for female specific companies. There's women-led funds that have emerged in the past 5 years. There's more incubators and accelerators and grant funding that's available specific for historically underrepresented founders, which often includes female and non-binary founders. And there's also been a plethora of conversations around this. It's been a really strong topic and one that I continue to push forward and hope that we all continue to have conversations around so we can get more founders and funders into the room. These unique funds and programs, they really understand and they're designed around the female founder themselves, and they address the unique challenges and experiences that a female founder might have. But I want to dive into a few more stats. This graph here shows visually the increase in venture capital money and deals for female founded and co-founded companies. In 2022, $47.8 billion was invested into female founded or co-founded companies, with 4,394 deals made. And to date in 2023, we're looking at 17.6 billion invested with 2,152 deals. So upon initial glance, it's pretty obvious that there was a big tick in 2021 and 2022, because this is really when those virtual opportunities became readily available. Those dedicated funds and programs for historically underrepresented founders were initially released. And it almost looks like it's starting to decline now. But what I and a lot of experts have realized through this is more so that it's is showing more of an evening out, where we had this uptick and we're going back more towards a very volatile capital market, which is really difficult to raise new funds in, but we're seeing a lot of the initial funds that were raised making that really high impact. And in my opinion, I think we'll see this increase again as those founders grow and look for follow-on funding as well. From an industry standpoint, software, biopharma, and B2B companies tend to make up a larger share of the US VC capital raised by female founders. So just some interesting statistics. I'll show this in a few other views as well, because if we look at this from a perspective of the number of deals compared to the value on the prior slide, 6.8% of VC deals went to female-only companies, and 19% went to male and female-founded companies in 2022. It doesn't show it on this graph, but thus far in 2023, we have about 7.3% of female-only and 18.9% of female and male co-founded deals that are coming through of that overall percentage. So it's looking a little bit better from the year prior, which is, again, trending up and a really exciting opportunity to see more female founded and co-founded companies coming to the table and getting onto those deals. Geographically, San Francisco, New York City, Los Angeles, and Boston remain major players in the startup fundraising landscape, but others have also really risen as hubs for female founders. The Southwest specifically, Austin, Dallas, Fort Worth, Phoenix, those areas have seen a really big uptick in the number of female founders and the amount of funding going to those founders. And that's all coming from PitchBook data as well. And Washington, D.C. and Denver have also been really big hubs in surging capital to female founders. I highlighted a few of the statistics here from some of those locations, including Indiana as well, to see where we stack up. Oops, I skipped a slide. I got a little too excited. Going back here, shifting from the founder perspective over to the investor lens and sharing some statistics here. 16.1% of female investors are VC decision makers in the US. And despite that, there's still 95.5% of VC firms that still have a majority male population of decision makers. And only 60% have 0 female partners at all. It's worth noting that in recent years, that was at 65%. So the good news is that women in partner roles are taking a larger chunk of the pie this year. So we're continuing to trend upwards, but those are still really stark statistics when it comes to where women actually have a seat at the table and where they are able to put their funding into companies, whether those companies are female founded or male founded. Having women in a position of power as decision makers or in a partner role, which is typically a decision maker role, is really important to this female investor landscape and the overall ecosystem for women in entrepreneurship. And I found it fascinating as I was taking a look at the women in entrepreneurship landscape from both the founder and funder perspectives. Because if we look at this map here from Allraise and Crunchbase, it actually shows that a large portion of these female check writers have critical mass in areas that we also highlighted on the female founders and co-founders map. And I don't think this is a coincidence. I think it's a strong correlation, largely because where women are writing checks are often correlated to where women are receiving checks. There's such power that happens when you get female founders and female funders into the same room. And especially if they have ties and they relate to the company, the likelihood of checks being signed and being carried through to the founders are a really high likelihood. So while progress is being made in recent years to increase those numbers of founders and funders and we're seeing this correlation, there's definitely more work that can be done to get more women a seat at the table, whether that's as a founder looking for funding, as an investor who can put money into those companies and can also help generate some generational wealth. It's really important that this landscape, it continues to grow and continues to be a topic of conversation. And that can, of course, start right here with a conversation with a powerful group of women in entrepreneurship or who support entrepreneurs. And it can also start with Purdue Innovates and the work that we're doing here as well. And I'll get into that a little bit too to share, because Purdue Innovates is a new initiative to Purdue to help streamline the access to capital, to resources, to mentorship, to expedite the process and help Purdue connected companies grow and thrive. And Purdue Innovates is really designed to serve Boilermakers at all stages of education, life, and business. We use the terminology Purdue Connected because you can be Purdue Connected as a student, as a staff, as an alum, as someone who licenses Purdue IP, and there's so many ways that you can be connected to the Purdue community. And we want to support the entrepreneurial ecosystem as a whole and be a key player in that process for founders. And since we looked at some statistics for women in entrepreneurship at large, let's look at a few really exciting Purdue statistics, because Purdue is also innovation at scale. Purdue is the most innovative school in the world and ranks 16th in most innovative company in the world. That is such a huge and powerful brand that can help really inspire the next generation of entrepreneurs. They're number 3 in the US for startup creation, and a host of our undergraduate, master's, and research programs also have extremely high and extremely wonderful statistics too that make us the best in the world. And we have so many alumni who have also gone on to be really successful in the entrepreneurial landscape and have held board seats at some of the most influential companies in the world too. We at Purdue Innovates are really working to streamline technologies from commercialization to startup support. So what this really looks like is Purdue researchers will develop innovations that can change the world, and Purdue Innovates can come in and help unlock their potential for impact. On the same wavelength, Boilermakers can also create startups, and Purdue Innovates can help support them by launching those startups through scale. Purdue's reputation is built on this world-class research and passionate entrepreneurial-minded faculty, staff, students, alumni, and commercialization partners. And Purdue Innovates brands bring those together to support the Purdue community through this commercialization and startup resource support. Visually, if you want to commercialize technology, the perfect starting point is through the Office of Technology Commercialization, where we can help license your tech to companies. If you're looking to build your startup, the incubator is the best place to start. That is where you can build your foundation with an idea and grow it into a scalable startup. When you're ready for venture funding, the Startup Foundry can be your home, where we can help shape your idea and connect you to funding resources. And our Ventures brand can also help fund your launch as well. Purdue Innovates is designed as this pathway to help entrepreneurs at any stage of their journey with the resources that they need at that specific stage. And I'll get into a little bit about each of those brands and where we can be helpful to you depending on where you're at as an entrepreneur. Purdue Innovations can be found in all 50 US states and about 100 countries around the world. Millions of people benefit from the cutting edge research that takes place at Purdue. And Purdue will own the IP that arises in the course of employment or enrollment in the university, or perhaps in the course of a work for hire relationship or visiting scholar relationship for the university, with a few exceptions. Purdue Research Foundation, Office of Technology Commercialization, owns and manages the Purdue IP for the benefit of the university. So a few things that OTC is able to help with alongside a team of patent attorneys is evaluating and protecting Purdue IP, licensing Purdue IP to industry and startups, and engaging with Purdue innovators with an online invention disclosure form, a database with access to invention management and access to dedicated commercialization and an IP team. So there's a lot of ways that the Office of Technology Commercialization can support you if you're looking to license your IP and help protect it. And those are available to anyone with a Purdue career account can submit a disclosure to OTC using that invention disclosure form, and we have a disclosure portal that is accessible to you. We also have a page for resources for inventors that can be really helpful for anyone who's looking for a place to start and looking to see what opportunities are available to them and how to go about those. The last opportunity for inventors to get engaged with OTC is to apply for Trask Innovation Fund. And this is for short-term projects. And this is on a cycle for both the fall and the spring. So you can apply for that funding by the 4th Friday in September or the 3rd Friday in February. So that September deadline's coming up. So if you're interested in that, go ahead and take a look on our website and complete that form. Otherwise, you'll have another opportunity in the spring. And if you're a business executive, feel free to browse our portfolio and also contact the OTC business development team to license any technology for your business. Diving into those who are looking to start a startup company or have a startup company and want to know what resources are available to you through Purdue Innovates. The incubator de-risks Purdue technologies and Purdue connected startups and encourages students to participate in startup endeavors. The incubator is that front door into Purdue Innovates for most startups and is an expert at increasing technology readiness level, also abbreviated to TRL, and helps de-risk those technologies from the beginning at the ideation stage. So once you have a problem that you want to solve and a proposed solution, you are ready for an initial conversation or discussion with the incubator team. The incubator offers supportive programming such as the Firestarter program and others to get entrepreneurs that are newer to the landscape up to speed quickly and get to learn the fundamentals of building a sustainable and scalable business. We work specifically on concept development up until that venture ready stage. We offer assistance with business plans, pitch decks, executive summaries, and business coaching and pitch coaching. There's also competitions that take place each semester and an access to a mentor network of volunteers who are willing to help guide you and help refine your solution and de-risk those technologies. And they'll work with companies a few hours a week to really help them get to a place where they're ready to scale. And there's also a few other opportunities for companies who are looking for SBIR and STTR grant writing support. And these stand for Small Business Innovation Research and Science and Technology Research. Don't quote me on STTR, but that one is also focused on the technology readiness too. And those are offered through a government grant program, and our incubator can help guide companies through that. And through all the other resources too, they help develop and deliver product development expertise. Once you have your idea and you're ready to build your startup, or maybe you've already developed your idea and you have a startup and you're more so interested in what can you take advantage of with Purdue Innovates to help you scale and to help with your growth. For venture-ready companies, the Startup Foundry is your place to go. This is where I spend the majority of my time working with venture-ready companies, and we really support startups with customers, capital, and community, making indirect and direct introductions to the appropriate customers, capital providers, and the broader community of support, so that we can create this holistic community to support entrepreneurs as they grow. Those community members might include lawyers, accountants, accelerators, grant programs. We will help find the right resources for companies in our portfolio when they need it the most. We also have a bench of world-renowned entrepreneurs that volunteer their time to work with our portfolio companies to help guide and mentor them They are entrepreneurs who have been through the process and can really relate to the exact pain points that a founder at your stage is going through. To date, the Foundry has launched 370 startups. There have been 37 million SBIR and STTRs awarded to portfolio companies, and $877 million in funding raised. So these are companies that are really having a big impact and going on to build and scale their companies. But we really do believe that startup support is most impactful when it's backed with capital. So the Startup Foundry is accompanied with an equity investment when we do engage with a startup. And when we engage, we provide that startup coaching and support. We host pitch competitions, which can be your entryway to receiving funding and to connecting with the Foundry. And we also connect with those community resources that I mentioned. And one of the really exciting and upcoming ways that we're going to help continue to be a conduit for capital to Purdue connected companies is we are launching a Purdue Angel Network that later this year. If you're an investor, let me know and we can see how we can get you plugged in. But this will be a really great way for Purdue connected companies to find access to capital to put their company in front of a world-renowned group of angel investors. And we're really excited to see that launch. Companies who are considering working with the Angel or with the Startup Foundry or the Angel Network as well should be able to show that they are on a path to creating the next world-changing technology. They should have demonstrated pull in the markets and capable of growing and scaling for billions of dollars in revenue. So we're really looking for that scalable, venture-ready company that we can support most through the Foundry and through Purdue Ventures. So this means having an established MVP, demonstrated product market fits. And if you have those things and you're thinking about funding, we really encourage you to reach out to our Foundry team. And we'll be able to support you at whatever stage that you're at and wherever your needs are the most. And here are some other more tangible ways too, just so that I can wrap up the portion about how to engage with Purdue Incubator, Foundry, and Ventures team. Please do reach out to our incubator team if you're interested in exploring opportunities with the incubator that best fit your stage and help get your business idea off the ground. You can also complete an inquiry form to learn more about Firestarter, market validation, and business model development programs within the incubator. And if you are raising capital or you're interested in participating in future pitch competitions and being a part of the Foundry to access those resources, reach out to myself or another member of the Foundry team, and we'd love to connect and see where we can be the most helpful. And if you happen to be an investor on this call and you're really excited that we're launching an angel network this year and you want to be involved, please do reach out to me. We haven't launched it yet, but we will be coming up in a few months. So I'd love to chat with you and see how we can get you involved in that. And there's one other really exciting way that I am most excited about for how you can get engaged, and that is upcoming events. I love virtual events, but there's also such a great power when we can get a group of people all in the same room with the same mindset and mission. And so we have 3 exciting upcoming events that I know I'm looking forward to. I know Maria's looking forward to it, and we hope to see some of you there. The first is coming up next week with the Purdue Alumni Entrepreneurship Networking Reception. Tyler Mantell will be there from my team, and you'll get to hear from a lot of the Purdue Innovates staff and meet other like-minded entrepreneurs. They'll be hosted on September 18th. And then the following week, there's another Purdue Women's Network Fall Luncheon, where Brooke Beyer, who leads our Purdue Innovates initiative, will also be there and can answer any questions and explore more ways for you to be involved. And then finally, the one that I am the most excited for is our first ever entrepreneurial alumni reunion weekend. This is happening on campus November 9th through 11th. And we're really excited about this because this is 3 days where we are inviting everyone back to campus to discuss topics on entrepreneurship. We are actually going to have a women in entrepreneurship panel in the morning on November 10th. We're going to have a venture panel. We're going to have an in-person pitch competition with some of our really exciting venture-ready companies that are raising funds, and will also be competing for a cash prize investment from the Foundry. So it'll be an exciting weekend where we are talking all things entrepreneurship, bringing people together in the same room. Hopefully we'll get those female founders and funders to talk and write some checks and really just get the entrepreneurial spirit going, inspire the next generation of students and staff and researchers that will be bringing innovations to the Purdue Innovates team as well. So we hope you'll join us for that, and we'll hope to see you at these other events as well. And space is limited for all of these events. So if you are interested, I do recommend signing up soon. I know some of the upcoming ones are coming to capacity, and same thing with the reunion. The last thing I want to leave you on is one of my favorite quotes here. There's such a supportive ecosystem at Purdue to encourage entrepreneurship. I never thought about starting a company until I started a career at Purdue and took advantage of the infrastructure like the Foundry. This is one of my favorite quotes because it really shows the power that the Purdue community has and the ways that we can unlock the potential for students, staff, alumni, all of our Purdue connected community to help them build businesses and unleash the power of entrepreneurship, especially for female founders. I want to see more female founders at the table and really engaging with the work that we're doing. I know I've spoken quite a lot. If you want to continue to connect, if you have specific questions too, I'm happy to address them. But if you want to have a bigger conversation about how we can specifically get you involved and engage and empower you in your next venture through Purdue Innovates or the Startup Foundry, please do reach out. My email is here. I'm happy to connect with anyone and to help you get started and connected. And I'll pause there. I also have not been looking at the chat, so I'll pull that up and see if there's any specific questions I can.
Yeah, there are quite a bit, Madison. So I don't even know where to start. I think one of the biggest questions is it open to family and friends of Purdue, or is it has to be a Purdue alumni?
Yeah. If you have a specific question, come and talk to us. Purdue Connected can mean a lot of different things. It can be a direct connection because you are an alum or a staff member, or it can be through affiliation. It could be someone on your founding team might be Purdue Connected in that way, or you might be in good faith working with Purdue and licensing IP or renting space from the research park or hiring Purdue interns and talent. So come and chat with us because Purdue Connected can be a pretty loose term. When it comes to family specifically, let's chat. There might be different ways that we might be able to explore that Purdue connection, because it will depend on a case-by-case basis.
In other words, contact Madison. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Christy asks, is this more focused for technology and not for greater business entrepreneurs?
Great question. So it's focused on both. And part of the reason why Purdue Innovates launched is because of that focus. The Office of Technology Commercialization has been around for years to help with that technologies aspect. The incubator has taken a new shape, as well as the Startup Foundry, to focus on that startup support. So the companies that are venture ready, companies that want to be scalable startups. So if you're in the bucket where you want to commercialize technology, the OTC office is the place for you. If you're looking for initial startup support because you have an idea, or you already have a startup and you want to scale that, go to the incubator for ideation and go to the Foundry and Ventures teams for that scaling resource and that capital conduit. So it's both.
Thank you. Thank you for that. And several people have mentioned about, for example, Shelley. Shelley, are you on the call? Let me see if I can bring this up. It's just the difficulty of women breaking in and to this, if maybe you could say just a little bit more about women-owned businesses and why it's dominated by men, etc.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great question. It's been interesting. We've had a lot of conversations, especially the pandemic brought to light the role that women have traditionally held in a household and the role women have traditionally held in business. And when the worlds completely collided in a virtual setting, when we all took everything during the height of the pandemic into this virtual world, conversations around that actually started happening, which is mind blowing that they weren't happening beforehand. And there are a lot of different factors. And I think it would probably take an entire day. I don't even think another session would cover
Yeah.
all of the reasons. But one of the most glaring ones that I've noticed when we think about the way that accelerators and programs used to be structured, they were very much in-person engagements. And what the pandemic brought to light, which is what I think also helped contribute to more female founders, is that that wasn't always an obtainable goal for female founders, especially those who were primary caretakers within their households. There were responsibilities that took place at the house that might have prevented them from getting into in-person events, programming, networking, the after work happy hours in person with the business leaders at the VC or whatever it may be, because there were these other compounding responsibilities that women have traditionally held. And that's not to say all women hold those responsibilities, but it tends to be a barrier for a lot of women in the business world. And what I think we saw a lot when everything went virtual, first it was a holy cow, how are we going to do this? Then it was, oh, wait, we can actually manage time differently now in this virtual world. And that in-person aspect was no longer a barrier. A lot of programs actually fully pivoted to a virtual model to create more equitable access for female, non-binary, and even those that are historically underrepresented because they have other disabilities too that might prevent them from that physical landscape. So to highlight one factor, that's a key driver in that in historically underrepresented status of women and where I think it's been going and shifting and the reasons why. Of course, there's a handful of other reasons, but that's one that initially comes to mind.
It's a big question. I mean, there's a lot of big questions in the chat that it requires people to get together and talk and discuss, because I think there's multiple answers depending on the situation. So, but thank you for tackling that. There's another question that Mary had brought up. There was a stream of questions regarding women starting businesses but not taking the university degree track. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And actually, one that we have highly considered when we talk about Purdue Connected. One of the greatest examples is actually Joe Watkins, who is the co-founder of Socio, had almost finished his degree at Purdue when he founded Socio and when it launched. And at least to my knowledge, I don't think he actually walked for his graduation in that year. Instead, he decided to take the route as entrepreneur and founder and has been really successful, sold his company, and has done great work. And when we think about Purdue Connected, it's important that we're thinking about all the ways that someone could be Purdue Connected. You know, we can make an argument that if Purdue invests in a company, they are then Purdue Connected. And that's a really powerful statement, because when we think about the brand of Purdue and the community of Purdue, it must be thought of as inclusive for those who might not have had access to higher education at Purdue, but want to be involved because they might be able to unleash this access now. So there are a lot of ways that Purdue Innovates can help you become Purdue Connected and access these resources, like hiring Purdue talent through your business, like launching and scaling with Purdue IP or space at the research park, and a handful of other criteria as well that we can help get you connected to this community.
Okay, thank you. If someone wants to jump on and turn on their microphone and ask a specific question, you have a few minutes to do that, we can. I'm trying to just scroll through here, Madison.
If you want a little break, Maria, I can ask my question I put in the chat.
Okay.
I was just reading yours too, actually. And Maria, I'd love to hear more.
Yeah, so as I'm thinking about this question around how do we get more women founders, I think one of the things that you're starting to do is build that infrastructure and the systems to support everybody, but thinking about women. So I guess my question really kind of comes back to, what are the efforts? There's two questions. What are the efforts that are trying to draw in female and kind of the other minority groups into the startup interest, like we've done with STEM and we continue to do with STEM? And then second to that, how are you measuring the impact, and are you looking at, we're being very intentional to try to support or, work extra hard with, I don't know what that is, but how are you measuring your impact for women, for minority business owners, things like that?
It's a really important question. And I'm glad that it's one that's come up in this and that you've asked this, Anne-Marie, because one of the reasons why Purdue Innovates as a brand came about this past spring, so it's still a new brand, even though the resources have been available for a while, is to bridge this gap between Purdue University and the resources at Purdue Research Foundation to help inspire that innovative culture. Because at the end of the day, students are going to be the next generation of these female, BIPOC, and historically underrepresented founders. And we want to show them what potential there is for their business, whether they go directly into startup creation after graduation or even as a student, or whether they go and work a more traditional career path and then turn to entrepreneurship later down the line. And there are a lot of efforts at play here, but I'll highlight just a few. So the first is the Purdue Innovates brand, which spans across the university and the research foundation and brings together staff members on both fronts to be conduits for those resources. We do have a certificate of entrepreneurship program with the Burton D. Morgan Center that is really powerful for entrepreneurs or prospective entrepreneurs that want to learn more about what it means, what it takes, and provide that educational aspects. And then we're doing a lot of partnerships with the incubator and faculty at the university to create events, conversations around entrepreneurship for students. We have one upcoming in the next few weeks with executives and residents that's specifically geared towards students. So we're inviting students to lunch to have conversations about entrepreneurship and for them to see examples of executives and entrepreneurs. Specifically, when we think about women and historically underrepresented populations, showcasing successful female founders, I think, is one of the biggest and most impactful ways that we can inspire those upcoming students. So identifying stories, we have a podcast that is run with Purdue University, where we're looking to highlight more female and BIPOC founders. And the more wins that we have in the Purdue connected companies that exist, the more stories we're able to tell and inspire and provide that one-on-one mentorship possibilities between like-minded folks and like-minded identities too. The Anvil is one student organization that is also boots on the ground at the university level to help provide resources for students specifically. So those are a few micro ways, and you asked about how we're measuring these, and we're still in the beginning efforts. So as we continue to build, we'll continue to track how many students are coming to these events, how these are resonating. We'll do some more targeted mentorship as well. So getting students involved in the incubator is the first best step in finding them and connecting them with mentors and with resources specific to help them at the stage that they're at and in the ways that they need that support. So this is the first of many steps, but as we continue to grow the numbers of companies that we support and that we fund, we'll be definitely tracking those metrics for women and BIPOC founders. Maria, it looks like you're on mute.
A question that someone asked directly is if you willing to share your slides, because there's a lot of hyperlinks in there, and so they can. Okay, wonderful.
Absolutely. That's why I threw the hyperlinks in there, because I figured they might be helpful in the long run. We also, our marketing department just launched a beautiful new website too that helps navigate you through that process based on where you are at in your entrepreneurial journey. So I encourage you to check that out, but also these links will take you right to where you need to go.
Would you like to share with the group all the social media handles that Purdue Innovates has and how they can reach out to that? Connect there?
Yes, absolutely. I don't have them handy, but I can grab them or help share them.
Sure, or we can just put in the post-event email. So in the post-event email, everyone, you'll get a copy of the recording as well as this presentation. Thank you, Madison. And for contact information. So if you want to get directly in contact with Madison and answer the question. There's a lot of questions here that we didn't broach because of the time, but you'll find that in the email that'll come out in a couple of weeks or so. With that said, that was very fast. I won't be able to go into the traditional ways where I just do some interview questions because we've got 9 minutes left. So, but I can end with, ladies, you know how the routine, get your cocktail glass ready while I will ask a fun round of questions with Madison just to get to know a little bit about personal side. So before I begin that part, are there any last words you'd like to share with us tonight before I go into the lightning round of questions?
Oh, that's a great question. And I think one of the biggest words of wisdom that I'd like to leave us with is there's such power in women in entrepreneurship and having a seat at the table. If you are someone who is writing checks, I encourage you to take an extra look at female-founded companies, and not only take an extra look, but also actively seek them to continue to build support around women in entrepreneurship. And if you are a female founder, come see how we can be supportive to you. I'm happy to help connect you with a handful of other resources too, specifically designed to support you as a female founder. So definitely leverage us for those resources, but let's get more female founders and funders a seat at the table. And whatever way I can be helpful, let me know.
A lot of thank you for this helpful, informative presentation. Really, Madison, this was amazing. Thank you so much. And got Sarah and Tyler saying amen. Love that. Women supporting women. Absolutely. This is what the Purdue Women's Network is all about, everyone. So with that said, are you ready, Madison, for your lightning round?
I am ready. A little nervous, but ready.
Okay, let's see. Here we go. Just give it a second and then you can answer. Ladies, if you want to join in the chat too, go ahead and put your answers in the chat. Feel free. Here we go. Favorite drink?
Ooh, a glass of wine.
Favorite.
I love a Chardonnay or a Cab, depending on the season.
Awesome. Favorite season?
Fall.
Ladies, girl, come on,
What did you say, Madison?
Fall, absolutely fall.
Okay.
I grew up in Florida, never had a fall. Love it.
Awesome. Most common question you get asked as a community manager?
Ooh, who should I connect with?
Probably, I get that. Go-to weekend pastime?
Oh, going to the beach. It's a little bit of Florida in me.
Okay. Learn by watching or learn by doing?
Doing.
My super strength is?
Organizing.
My greatest invention ever?
Ooh. I'll go with my computer.
Favorite entrepreneur and why?
Oh, there are lots, but I have had the pleasure to work with Stephania from Easy Cater, and I think she is fantastic and really inspirational.
Awesome. Biggest fear?
Sharks.
Favorite book?
Oh, right now I'm reading The Business of Community. So thinking from a business lens, that one has been really exciting.
Awesome. A place you'd like to visit again and why?
Japan. I got to spend a few days there, and I actually didn't make it to Tokyo because I got sick and was in southern Japan. So I'd go back in a heartbeat.
Okay. Let's see. What makes you hopeful?
The next generation of entrepreneurs. Really
Awesome.
inspiring to see what they're working on, and it just gives me a lot of hope for where the world is going and solving massive challenges.
Thank you. Favorite entrepreneur themed movie?
Oh, I don't know if it's an entrepreneur themed, but the We Crashed, a mockumentary about the WeWork. It's kind of an entrepreneurial one. It's not necessarily inspirational, but I think it's fascinating.
Thank you. Best thing about ChatGPT?
Efficiency.
Okay. Ladies, if you use ChatGPT, please put a smiley face in the chat. I'm curious to know who uses ChatGPT. Would you rather travel to the past or to the future?
The future.
If you could speak to anyone, who would it be and why?
Ooh, Thomas Edison. I'd love to hear more about the way his brain works.
Absolutely. One piece of advice you would give to students wanting to pursue a career in your field?
Push yourself a little bit beyond your comfort zone. You never know who you're going to meet. You never know what experiences you're going to have and where it'll take you.
Absolutely. The most challenging part of your work.
Oh, that's a tough one. I feel stumped. I think probably the most challenging is finding the right connections at the right time, making sure that I'm able to uh, make meaningful connections so that time is best used and that
Mhm.
both sides of those, either entrepreneurs and investors, are getting the most out of it.
Okay, thank you. The best part of your work.
Oh, the same thing, getting to make the
Okay,
connections. There's
got it.
nothing that brings me more joy than
Absolutely.
getting an entrepreneur and a really meaningful connection.
If you had unlimited funds, where would you invest it in at Purdue and why?
Any venture in the climate tech space. I think it is such an important field and one that takes a lot of capital and funding to get off the ground.
Awesome, thank you. Last question, Purdue is, fill in the blank.
Innovative.
Awesome, thank you. Awesome, great, ladies. And Madison, good job. Let's go and do this. Just a few reminders to everyone as you get your glass ready for our picture. So if you could, please turn on your camera so we can take a group picture, and which I will, of course, post across LinkedIn. Let's see, the event that she talked to you about for Monday with the Foundry and Tyler, that if you're not able to make it in person, it's also online. So go ahead and register if you can make it. It's going to be an amazing event. It's going to be on Monday, the 18th. It is also an online event. Yeah, and then we've got next month, we've got the director of the Women's Global Health Institute, who will be talking about breast cancer. So please check in about that. That'll be an exciting conversation to have. Who's going to take the picture? I guess I will. Does everyone have their glass ready? Cheers. Even if it's a water bottle, that works too, ladies. Okay, I'm gonna have to do 2 pages. I don't care. And I will have to mail you a sticker that says like Women Rock or something. I don't know. We'll have to do that. We're gonna do this really quick. 1, 2, cheers. I have to switch the page because there's too many people. Wait, just 1 second. Oh, come on, turn on your camera. If you don't mind, that would be awesome. Okay, cheers. Thank you. Awesome. Women supporting women. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate you being here this evening. Can't believe this is really our 3rd year doing Cocktails and Conversation. We look forward to seeing you again. Madison, you are awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time with us this evening. We look forward to seeing more of you in the future with Purdue Innovates and Purdue University. Thanks, everyone.